with the teachings, I'm finding that what I would normally say was, oh God, was challenging. I'm finding myself in a space to say, well, let me go away from this thing called fear. Because today I had somewhere to go and I started to feel really nervous. And I said, Catherine, there's nothing to fear but fear itself. And if you take on the fear, you will really bring into existence what you're fearing. See, but if you go with the attitude that you don't talk to God already, it is what it is, and it's going to be fine, then by the time I got there, I was lighthearted. I was chatting up with the people,
Yeah.
smiling. I didn't have any nervousness at all. And then, so my week was about just trying to apply, just trying to apply the lessons, trying to apply the teaching so that things could be a little smoother. Trying to work in acceptance. Yes, acceptance. I think that is the word. Accept and just, don't live in tomorrow. Tomorrow could be dangerous for living. Worrisome. That was my week.
Okay, very good. Anyone else would like to share how their week was?
I could second Catherine's week. My week was like that. I There's something I wanted to do for the longest, and I was always like, oh my gosh, what people think, how they look at you, how you know what I mean. And I went in, and it was a unbelievable feeling that you can't even put into words the amount of joy that you felt. I felt free. I felt just really elated, going out on my own and doing this activity. It was just very uplifting. So I think stepping out of your comfort zone and getting over the fear and getting over the thoughts that you put in your head in terms of how people might perceive you it was a big one for me.
Okay, that is very good. And I don't know if you all noticed, but you all are also practicing mindfulness in terms of living in the present and not in the future or in the past and enjoying each moment. So,
Okay.
yeah, that is very, very commendable. So, welcome everyone to this week's live. And this week, based off of the topic that was discussed last week, which is exploring soul and spirit, we would be discussing the awareness of the body. So, in terms of this week's topic, what questions do you all have in terms of the awareness of the body?
I don't think it's a question so much. I think it just goes back to what Catherine and I said, being aware of the power of the mind, and understanding that sometimes the mind doesn't always tell the truth, so to speak. And once you get over the fear and self-judgment and stuff like that, and after you understand like what the difference between the soul and the mind and the connection, and like your soul will always guide you to be your true self, and the mind is the kind of default that will kind of probably second guess the soul. Like I said, for me, once like I took the step, if I didn't take the step, it'll be like letting the mind control. But when I took this step, I could tell you, and let me tell you what I did. I always wanted to do like dancing, like ballroom dancing and stuff. And when I
Ah,
said like music is like in the soul, I could tell you, I came out of there, and the elation that I felt, and it was really like your soul was really happy. It wasn't about the mind, because I put the mind to the back, and I went forward with what I really wanted to do. And I mean, from the stepping into the to the class, the atmosphere, the dance instructor, I had a group class, everybody was there, and it was just such a joyful moment. So when we put the mind aside and let the soul lead, it's, I think that is where we kind of, that's kind of answering the question that you asked, I think, in understanding the body.
Well, Lisa, I actually had full-blown conversations with my mind. I was talking to it. I was telling it, let me tell you something. You really are just the negative nanny. You don't know anything and you will wait. So you need to go back to sleep. You need to rest yourself. You need to stay behind. No, what you are coming up with is not true. That is not true. That's when the nervousness come in. I say, that
Yeah.
is not true. That is not true. That is not true. That is false information. Be quiet. That is false information. No, 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 no. That is not a thought I will entertain. No, don't bring that one again.
And I did the same thing too, Catherine. You really have to talk yourself out of the negativity. You really have to, and I think that's the part that we struggle on, working or understanding how to talk ourselves out of that. Because I had another, like I was on a roll, so I had another experience. I went to this beauty salon, and I walked in, and I was talking to the owner about getting my hair done and whatever, and the response I got was like, ooh, she was politely rude, right? And then I came home and I was kind of talking to myself again. And I was like, okay, on a roll, you're putting, the soul first. And, it's kind of like figuring out, was she really rude? Is it me? Should I give her another chance? And going back and forth and trying to understand, like, this is not what I experienced before. So I was kind of torn in between, where do you, or how is it you decipher the good? Well, you know the good, but when you encounter someone like this, remember there's no wrong and all that type of stuff that you're learning. When do you cut it off and be like, okay, this is not a place or environment or the energy you want to be around. And I remember this morning I was like, all right, God, well, what is it? Am I supposed to be there? And then I remember something came to me, and this is what Akinde had said to me: if it's for you, you wouldn't meet any resistance. And then I was like, okay, that's my decision. So I don't need to go with you. Let me find somewhere else. Because it was like when I went to the class, it was pure joy, pure ecstasy. I didn't meet any type of resistance. So I don't know if I'm wrong in making that judgment, or if it was I made that decision too quickly or not.
No, you're not the recognition of what you identified, what you were made aware of. The question is, how did you interpret it? So the question you should really ask yourself is, what do I have to cut off? Because if you are one with everything, there is nothing to cut off. You just be enjoying the moment and enjoying the flow, regardless of what is coming back at you, because you will always have the right response. But if you're functioning from the ego or the lower mind, you would believe there's something that you need to defend.
Well,
You understand?
I thought about that too. It was like so many different aspects that I thought about, because like I was having a discussion with Adana, and I was like, well, same thing you said. If soul to soul, we all connected. So how do I decipher Like I said, there's no wrong. Maybe she was having a bad day. Maybe it was this. Maybe it's just me interpreting, but where do I, how you decipher that, and how, like,
Question for you. Who is I?
well, I, body, mind, soul, I guess so. I am.
So if you are I am, and I am knows that the person who you're speaking to is one and the same,
Mm-hmm.
what is there to decipher?
So then what do I do? It's nothing to decipher. It's not about them. I guess it's my choice in terms of where I want to go then.
So you're recognizing that you are saying that you are I am and responding from the I am. That's what you're saying. But what's essentially happening, the truth of what is happening is that you're vesting the conversation based on ego. So if you're dealing with someone who doesn't understand and function from the I am,
Mm.
recognizing themselves to be the highest element of who they are, your understanding must remain there because you would be creating the moment. So in your response to the person, they would receive from you exactly what is required for them. So it's not based on what your understanding would be. So you will be guided always from the higher self. And if the lower self wants some sort of conflict or defense, then you will recognize where you're functioning from because the higher level doesn't require that.
So tell me how I should have handled that situation then.
The situation is handled where you would remain composed and in harmony regardless of how it goes. The
Mm.
tree sits in the wind, in the rain, in the snow. You follow?
Mm-hmm.
In the hot sun, and the tree sits there. It doesn't believe that it needs to get an umbrella, get a shade, get a jacket. Based on the season it's in, it lets go of leaves, it shines bright and green, it functions regardless of what because it's in flow with everything.
Mm.
We tend to do differently because we believe we have a mind that directs everything, but it's not the mind that directs everything. The mind is just part of the process of direction. So in dealing with someone who comes at you with some season of life,
Mm.
your response will always be at the highest level that you are. You follow?
I
So
follow.
it's not you trying to formulate a response.
Mm.
Because if you function from the highest level, the response will come to you automatically. And this is the reason why you don't judge yourself based on what you're doing. So if in the moment it is necessary for you to remain calm, speak well, and leave it as it is, you do that. If it
Mm.
comes to you that you should tell the person something, not to hurt their feelings, but necessarily for them to recognize that the being that in front of them is bringing something that they can learn, then you use exactly what formulation comes to you to bring that point across. So it's
Mm.
not you trying to find out how you should go forward, because when you function from the higher level, you will always be in flow.
Mm.
You follow?
Yes.
So that's essentially this is the reason why you take the time out to meditate as you're doing and everything like that, so that you could always be functioning with the training that you give to yourself to remind who is truly in charge, and it's not the mind. The
Mm.
mind is a slave to who is really in charge, and who is really in charge is the true you, not your mind. It was funny. in the essence of what you were speaking about, that you mentioned, the power of the mind. Because the mind holds no power. The mind is influential, but influence does not necessarily mean power. Your power is inherent in your entire being functioning at the level it truly is. So when you function as one, therein lies the power. If you function from just the mind would create visions of self, and in order to tap into, like, in order to tap into the creation of the light bulb, soul would be required and body would also be required. And therein lies power. If the mind is trying to do it alone without the body, so meaning that you do nothing and you sit there, there is no power. If the soul is not involved to bring and motivate and carry you along the pathway, because will of the mind is not enough, there is also no power. The mind itself does not have any power, but it can influence. Which brings us to the topic, because there is the body, and the mind can influence the body. But as we established before, the body functions with a different understanding than the mind. Your body does need the mind to say what it should be doing at any time. Your mind is not in the process of helping your body to heal. Your mind is not in the process of helping your body to breathe and to function. Your body is like a plant. The difference between you and the plant does not carry the mind that you have. Everyone. So where does awareness work with the body? It simply means that the body has a different understanding that you are. Your mind does not have the understanding that you are. The soul knows that you are. This is why, as it was mentioned before, the soul is always in the moment. The body is always in the moment, but the mind is not. For example, when Lisa stops to think about how she should respond, she's already tapping into the past and looking towards the future and no longer in the present moment. It may appear to be you're in the present moment because your awareness of the body says that you are there in front of the person. But the mind is already in the past, reliving the experience that just happened, thinking about a response that could bring a different outcome in the future. Do you follow?
I find that to be a little challenging because not in understanding what you just said, but in the practice of it, because you really have to check yourself sometimes. Stop.
Exactly.
You have to bite on some words. You have to just give grace, and then something else will formulate. I remember once my gas man, the one who delivers things, I'm supposed to get the smallest tank he has. And I said to him, he put on a larger one, and I said, no, you forget, I'm the lady with the small tank. And he just buffed me. He can't be expected to remember all of that. And I was just in the process of letting him have a customer service lecture. And then I
The
just
question,
bit down on the words. And then I said, it's true, it's true, it's true, it's true. You really can't remember everybody because you have a lot of customers. You have a lot of customers. I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And that man just changed. Since then, he gave me his phone number. If he passed already and I need gas, call and he will come back. He gave me name. I said, and I came inside saying, imagine if I had cursed this man out today. He used to put the tank by the road. Now he will tell the guy, bring it to the door for her. So it was just grace upon grace. But it's really the application of that patience, that check.
there was no challenge to your understanding because you were in tune to recognize that you were in the moment and you were able to function from a higher understanding. because you will always react and respond through life based on whatever input comes to you. But your reaction should be based in the higher understanding, functioning from a higher state of being, a higher state. In the higher states, there is love. Love is. Happiness is. And if you are functioning, for example, who did he buff?
The body.
The ego, the mind.
He simply stated what he believed because he was going through whatever. So his feelings would never be wrong. He was going through exactly whatever. Your decision to understand what he was doing, to interpret what he was doing, and to use your perception to believe that you received a buff is something else. That means that your ego is there deciding it is best to tell him off. So your ego is leading your decision making. In the moment when he says what he has to say, your understanding, when you call on self, truth is, as you meditate, as you learn about yourself, you will always be functioning in that state. The more you practice, the more you would be in that state. So when something comes at you, your filter for your input sources, the senses, your filter will guide how it is received. And based on the reception, you would know exactly what that person requires. Do you know why? Because you have a body and you have a soul. Your mind may not always guide you where you need to go unless you control it. And the understanding required exactly at that moment, based on the input, will either carry you via the mind or carry you from the higher understanding of self. It appears to be difficult, especially when you don't practice it, especially when you don't understand that you are functioning every day from the higher self as well as the lower self. But you refine life around one of them. And often for everyone, we go from the lower. When you were born and you took up a body, you were functioning from the higher. And based on the instructions that you received and the input as you were learning, you either function from the lower. And the length of time that you remain in lower would also be based on the input sources, the parents, the friends, the environment that you are received in. Received. You know why the use of the word received? Because received signifies that you are accepting something. Because there is nothing more than love. Every single thing that we do is love. So in your receiving of love, you would interpret and you would share love based on that understanding. That's the way the mind starts to get involved. And the ego always starts to get involved, even from the child. So there is a lot to grasp in it as we formulate this evening based around the topic of the body. The body knows. The body is limited in function because it is the vehicle, but it knows. The mind has influence over the body. So if the mind guides the body where it should not go, you will have the results of what you do not want. But let's talk about some secrets of the body. Because the body is aware that it is connected to everything.
Mm.
Your body. If you are ill, this is the reason why certain herbs works with your body, because you are from and of that. The chemically induced ones, some work and some do not. This is fact. And anytime you get to sit in meditation, you ask. You will always get the answers you seek. And you can know what you should utilize whenever your body requires some form of support. Your body is one with all of the elements. Some know this already. Some yet to realize. Your body came from that because it's returning to that. The only reason why you believe that there's a separation between you and everything around you is because of your mind, the influence of your mind. Your body heals itself without condition. Your body does not require it because your body is functioning from the state of happiness always. Your mind influences the body to get off of that platform and function in somewhere else. Your body is the one that says to you, this is what I need. And because your mind says, I must work now, you will not give the body what it requires. Because I am having a good time right now, you will not give the body what it requires. Your body would take instructions from the soul. Your body will take instructions from the mind. Because you are in a physical experience, the mind has greater influence over your body than the soul. For some people who go to religious houses, charismatic, spiritual, there is the opportunity to realize when the soul takes command over the body, not the mind. Because in spiritual matters, there is no mind. Your oneness with everything is understood by the soul as well as the body, not your mind. So your mind has to be trained to understand that. This is the reason why you can walk in nature and identify yourself completely, because you are one and the same at the purest essence of who you are. You seeking greater energy in something that you are doing can hold a flower, can hold a stone, can hold dirt, can put your hands in water and change your entire mood completely, can lift yourself even before you go to an interview, to a conversation, being one with everything else outside your body, with no input from your mind, because your mind will say it's foolish. So you put your mind to the back and you function purely body. Your body, because it is aware, knows exactly who is for you, who your relationship will be, who is supposed to be your friend in 2 years. Your body is already aware and will put the necessary arrangements in place so that these things could come to pass. If you do not allow your mind to take hold, when you allow your mind to take hold, your mind does not know. So your mind, when you should be at your peak fitness, your mind may say to you, I don't want to do this. So you don't. And what you were supposed to receive 8 months from now does not happen.
Ay, ay, ay.
Your body is always in the moment and aware of your truth. This is the reason why things happen. Your mind that you hold so dear as the controller of your life without understanding that you, the true you, the I am, in this physical experience is made up of three parts. The mind is just one third. But you give so much dominance to the mind that it makes it difficult. So this is where you take control. If your mind works with your body, you will be functioning at a higher level. When the mind does not work with the body and believes the body to just be the slave to whatever you want, not recognizing that the body is also equally justified in this physical experience, then you will see the changes. Because time is only a concept that you are in control of. You. And you place what is the limit on time without the true understanding of how time works. Time is for another discussion, but we utilize time today as we discuss the awareness of the body. Because the body is aware of time, but not in the way that the mind holds time. The mind may believe that time, there is abundance, so I don't have to do anything. Or there is not enough, so I must function quickly. The body is aware of time this way. I am experiencing a physical embodiment of the I am, me, and I am being one in the understanding of all things. And from this time to this time, the end, there are things that must be accomplished, but there is no rush because there is order. This cannot happen before this. So things must be in order. The body is aware, the mind not so much, because the body does not receive input like the mind receives input. The soul does not receive input like the mind receives input. This is why you justify the mind and believe that the mind knows everything, but it knows nothing. The mind is a computer, as we established before. So it takes in information and it produces a result based on interpretation. And then it places a command for the body. Or in some cases, a command for the soul. But the mind has no influence over the soul. The more you curb your mind, the more the soul will respond equally. So this is the life experience that you have. And everyone lives trying to find a way without the recognition of who they truly are, without the understanding in so many different levels. And to discuss on a Monday for 1 hour the amount of elements of who you truly are, it's long. It may even take a lifetime. But we'll discuss as every week goes by so the understanding is formulated. But with the understanding, there must also be practice. The practice of stillness works body, mind, and soul. The reason why your body requires rest is simply because the body must function in the physical experience. And there is only so much you can place on it before the results of time that the mind influences upon the body starts to demonstrate itself. Was that part understood?
Yes.
So that's the influence of time. If you function from the higher mind, that influence of time that the mind holds there does not exist. The higher mind knows exactly on Monday, this is where I should be. On Thursday, this is where I should be. This is what I should bring into my life. Because the three parts of you are one, and that one is connected to everything. The soul and the mind knows. The soul and the body knows. The mind and the soul knows. The body and the mind knows. All together, nothing unless you decide you are one body, mind, and soul. Everything else, the soul cannot function without the others. The mind cannot function without the others.
Mm-hmm.
The body cannot function without the others. This is the understanding that they know nothing separately, but each whole value in different forms. And when you understand this completely, you will be tapping into your higher self. The mind, because it is also vested with an ego that is there inherently within as a guide, and not the very best guide, because there is a decision to be made between your soul and the ego. Because your ego seeks to ensure that you are protected, whereas the soul does not, because the soul knows you are protected and does not have to report to the mind and the body. The ego reports to the mind and the soul. And this is the reason why when someone buffs or offends you, you believe that you must defend yourself. That demonstrates there is a limited understanding. In someone buffing, scolding, arguing, however you choose to perceive, there is the soul, body, and mind within that same framework. But the mind seeks to be dominant, and the ego tends to play the guide to protect you. Is this wrong? It is not. Do not believe that this is wrong. What it is it is not best.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to function from what is best.
I saw that.
So
No, go ahead.
a question,
Yes, two questions.
feel free.
Okay, so Carla asked the question: how to differentiate the body commands from the mind?
The body, you would know because you would feel it in terms of your intuition. So you may be eating and indulging, and you know this is enough. That is not the command of the mind. That is the body through your intuition saying that it is enough. The mind that you would have perceived to be the one, because we always believe that the mind holds all the keys. The mind does, in fact, hold keys, but not all. So we do not utilize our mind at the highest level. Your body will say to you, this is not best, because the body is aware as you go along, you are one with everything. So you tap into your intuition. Because in the space of intuition, there is also the soul. The mind does not function in intuition. In fact, the mind, because it is analytical and critical and logical, does not stand where intuition is and says, there is none. Your understanding must be, there are three parts to who I am. Who I am. So there is an easy way. The understanding where the body lies, lay down and lay down for an extended period, doing nothing. You will feel, based on your senses, the impact of the body. For as you lay, you will get the call to rise. This is not your mind. The intuition flows from the center. But because it resonates all through you, you will hear it. And the only way you will perceive it is in the mind. When you tap into yourself through meditation, you will be able to differentiate between the mind providing thoughts and the intuition providing signals and commands. Pain that you believe comes and is housed in the mind because you feel pain when you squeeze, when you prick. The body must send that signal. Remember, the mind is only a computer. So the body must send the signal to be interpreted by the mind as pain. The threshold for pain is based within your understanding of truth. So different people would experience pain in different ways. Different genders will experience pain in different ways. It does not mean that one is greater than the other, that one person is above another because their threshold for pain is different. Everyone
Ask a
is a
question here.
different individual. There is a question?
Yes. Is that why it is said that the mind cannot concentrate on two two troubles at one time? Okay,
It
so if
cannot.
your head is hurting you, then it will focus on the head, but it can't focus on head and foot at the same time. So if you stub your foot, it will go to the foot. Is that why? Because it's just not equipped for it can only do one thing at a time.
And this is the use of yoga and meditation and qigong and so many different practices that focus on the body being in flow. Because when your mind houses pain and frustration, and you believe there is pain in my elbow, and you circulate that pain through a practice, the pain goes. If you, because there is pain in your knee, you place your hand in your palm and you press pain points, the pain in the knee goes away. Your body does not require your mind. The body has a complete different form of awareness, but it is guided by your mind. Another question?
Earlier, I wanted to ask a question earlier about the question about order, in that the mind sees time as either unlimited or short in supply, and therefore we try to operate in a rush versus what is really going on, which is there's order. And so the body and the soul knows that. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
knows what has to come in what order, because some things have to be done first to get to point from point A to point B. And therefore, is there a because you said that between time A and time B, there are certain things that must be accomplished, and the soul knows that, and the body knows that. The mind is what doesn't really know. Um, is there a point at which you can come to the end of time as we know it, first breath to last breath, and some things are yet unfinished, but because there is no, I want to say this right, there is no real constraint of time for the soul, that it's okay, it's not seen as a failure if something is not finished?
There is no failure in the spiritual realm. You are a part of the spiritual realm. Everything that exists throughout the entire universe is part of the spiritual realm. Failure is a construct of the mind. There is one attempt, two attempts, three attempts. If you choose to not attempt, it's because you stopped. There is no true failure. Failure is something that you have identified with. And because you identify failure as this is what you try to avoid. Again, there is nothing saying that there is something right or wrong with regards to failure. But your understanding should be, I have tried this, it does not work, let me try something else. And this is the use of your mind. You tried it once, you have the opportunity to try it completely as I am, body, mind, soul. Because in I am, if you can recall, there is no failure. You will be guided in discipline and order. What should be done? How should it be done? If you, by your own understanding, choose to decide for yourself that my mind wants to go this way, and there is something that is to be done before you may get results, that can be either which way. And because life for many is based on the throw of the dice, I hope I achieve this. Let me get a 6. Let me get a 4. And you get a 2, you believe you have failed. Or you believe this is not for me. It may very well be for you, but you have limited yourself by your own understanding in that medley of life, based on time, based on money, based on problems, based on what you perceive love to be, based on attachments, based on everything that you have constructed within your own understanding, without the recognition of your true self, body, mind, and soul. Do you understand?
Yes.
So the body is not there just for your whim and fancy. You can enjoy every element of your being because you were made to enjoy every element of your being. the truth in so many matters. But we shall color it for your understanding, and some would understand and some may not. But in that experience, you are functioning from the very highest level, even though you may be led to that particular experience by your most basic instinct.
Ah.
Can anyone guess? And in that very being, who you are is aligned, though your mind may not be aware. Your body is aware. And even in the experience, when something is received and something is shared, and a new life is commanded, what is shared completely between both is guided not by the mind. Please pay attention. Components of the body shared. There is nothing shared from the soul. I repeat, there is nothing shared from the soul, because this is a soul who has chosen a body, who is yet to be. There are influences of the mind that is programmed within. The influences of the mind would come from the key components of who you are during that experience. So if you are at the highest level, components of the highest level would be placed there. Remember, the soul is aware of all things, and the soul is already at the highest level. The life you live reduces the level of the soul. The life that you choose to live reduces the level of the soul. So when a new life is coming, based around the elements of the bodies involved and components within the mind that's placed there merely as features. Features. We speak as simply as possible for the understanding of it. As features. Features are there just like your television channels. While you are looking at this one and your awareness is on this one, there are others that are still ongoing, is there not?
Yes.
These features are there laying dormant from the birth, and as the child progresses, these features, just like channels, are clicked upon. They are activated. So elements in the mind that you are functioning from your base level would also be activated. Elements of your body in the child would also be activated. This is the reason why they look, they act, they behave so similar to the influences around. No matter if the influence is at home or not at home. And the activation is based on what you project. So if you project love, that's what will be activated. If you project hate, that's what will be activated. If you are attached and you are seeking to provide love through the attachment without the understanding of who you are, that will also be activated. So do not expect anything different, even though your attachments and your ego has an expectation for the child. The body within that child will grow according to the path that is set forth, based on the experience that the soul desires, not yours, based on the experience that the soul desires. And the things that come to being would be based around the identity of self housed in the mind. As mentioned before, there are so many elements to who you are. You are complex, but yet you are very simple. Because for the understanding of self, all is required. Find the time for stillness and understand who you are. For when you cannot, and you refuse to, and you do not, you simply function from whatever the medley is within you. Do you understand?
Yes.
We have a question from Petra.
Yes.
Petra asks, so then is society training children to think they are failures because they have children thinking if they don't excel in school to pass an exam, they are a failure. What is your take on that, and how should a parent deal with this?
You are a part of society. You will always be a part of society. Even if you choose to be a recluse, living in the mountains away from the population, you are a member of society who is living away from the population. You will always have the influence around you of the population, of society. Yet you have the ability to function like society or function in the true self, who you truly are. If you function as who you truly are, and if you paid attention to what we just described with the child, the body, the soul, the mind, the relation, then you would realize that you, functioning from the higher mind, can hold influence as you nurture the child. So even though society says this, the child will hear what you have to say, because you will be the premise for what is activated. If you are confused, it means you are functioning from the level of society. So you would activate and attract to the child's understanding what society is projecting. So if society projects you are a failure because you are uneducated, or you have no money, or you have whatever society deems to be trendy at the moment, and you maintain that belief, you will activate that within the child. So the child will believe based on your understanding. When the child is older, the child can make up the mind, because the mind will no longer be influenced solely by the parent. And just like the parent, the child too would have to identify with the I am. Do you
Okay.
follow?
Thank you. Yes, thank you very much.
So failure is simply an interpretation based on yesterday, not tomorrow. The concept of failure is looking over your shoulder, because if you are going forward, where is the failure? Is it based on the understanding that you have received from someone else who says to you, you have failed? Can anyone understand and answer?
Yes, I understand clearly.
So failure in itself is looking over your shoulder at
Right.
yesterday.
Right. Thank you.
Any other question?
I don't have a question. I just want to see this just this new definition, this understanding of failure as being based in yesterday is really, really powerful for me because when I'm looking at it, I'm saying yes, 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 because that is the only place you could mark something that you did not accomplish. You can't mark it in going forward. So I
It
am
will
going to
never
take
be in the future and it will never be in the now.
I am taking that particular point really seriously, really seriously. So when you think of doing something and you then think of the failure, that is the mind going back to yesterday and projecting it forward and then causing you to stay in one spot and not actually do anything at all. Our little friend, the mind.
And there it is.
Oh,
For if you are doing something, if you recall earlier in the conversation, if you are doing something and you are completely present, how have
mm,
you failed?
that is true. That is that is that is gospel truth. Because when you're in the moment, you're still creating everything. You're creating. You're seeing it coming through. You might even be sketching it, like my Tobago townhouse. You know. Yeah. So there's no failure in it now. It's really looking backwards that you're
A
bringing that.
concept based on yesterday.
And is that the mind just going back to familiar things, things that it's
Because the
familiar with?
mind is never in the moment
Ah,
unless you practice it.
okay.
And if you practice it, you will recreate your understanding of failure. Because even in stopping, it is only that you have decided to stop. How have you failed if you have decided to stop?
And that's one of the things that we are taught in society that when you quit is when you fail, when you stop is when you fail. You have to keep going, keep going. Otherwise, so even even that understanding that I've decided to stop, it shouldn't attach. We shouldn't attach it as a failure. It's just a
Correct.
decision to not do it anymore. Hey,
And that is all it is.
hey.
Yet, because the people around you are looking in yesterday, they say you have failed.
I need to cry. They
Ah,
have to tears, but I just need to, that explanation. I just need to cry with the realization. It's happy tears, happy tears. That's what it is. But just be. Thank you. Yeah.
I had a question.
Yes.
When it says, remember in my, they say, speak positive and don't say certain things about yourself. But if you're feeling a certain way, like you're feeling tired, what you're supposed to say? Because if you say
If
certain
you're
things,
feeling tired, the body is signaling that you should rest.
so I cannot say it because I'm tracking more tiredness if I say I am feeling tired.
If you are saying you are feeling tired,
Yes.
it is the body saying to you, it is time to rest. If you choose to not rest, it is because the ego is saying continue.
Oh, okay. Okay. But is anything wrong with saying I am feeling tired? Would that
If you are saying, I am feeling tired, what is the truth?
I am feeling tired.
Then what is the problem?
Am I attracting more tiredness or attracting that
You are
energy?
merely stating you are feeling tired.
Oh, that's all. Thank
The
you very much, sir.
attraction of things is not based in the will of the mind. You attract via your subconscious, which lies in the realm of the spiritual, in the realm of the soul. When you say, I am tired, it is a truth that you are speaking. It is not what you are attracting. You attract into your life what is required for your purpose. So, for your understanding, it is not something that is coming from the out to within. It is merely you stating what is within. I
I,
am feeling tired. I
thank you
am
very much.
feeling. If you are trying to attract something by saying, I am feeling tired, then tired is not going to be something you are attracting from the external, because tired lies within. So you won't get more tired. What would happen is, because you are projecting ill intent for the body, when the body says it is time to rest and you are continuing, you are going to affect the influence of time upon the body. Do you follow?
Yes, I
Yes.
do. You need to take care of your body for your body to take care of you.
That's right.